Okay, continuing on with food and feasts from DK Find Out Castles. Food and feasts. In the Middle Ages, food was grown close to where people lived. Country people would often pay their taxes in kind, which meant sending in food to the castle. If bad weather or marauding army destroyed the crops, many people went hungry. Oh my goodness, that would be difficult. Look at all of these different, this is stew or pottage, cheese, trenchers. Food was often served on a trencher, a round, flat piece of bread. That is so interesting. Pickled herring, bacon, berry and rose petal rice pudding, apple pie, roasted almonds, a boar's head with apples, saffron, peppercorns, nutmeg, cinnamon, ginger, elaborate decorations. Food was served in all sorts of decorative ways to make it look as expensive as possible. This was a pheasant meat. Entertainment. Medieval festivals such as May Day were celebrated with music and dancing. Entertainers such as acrobats and jugglers traveled from one castle to another to perform. The surrounding towns put on mystery plays in which local people acted out stories from the Bible. Instruments: bow, wood instruments, rebec, lute, minstrels, and turabors. Minstrels, or musicians, might perform in the great hall of a castle during a feast. From the 1100s to the 1300s, poets called turabos toured the castle of southern France, singing of chivalry and love. A court jester. The jester was a bit like a modern stand-up comedian. He was kept by the nobles to make fun of powerful people, tell jokes, and talk entertaining nonsense. Dancing. Country people liked jolly dances with a lot of spinning around, clapping, and stamping. Villagers might dance in a ring holding hands. At a castle, the nobles preferred stately dances, pacing, pointing toes, skipping, and curtsying. Indoor games, just like chess. Prayer and worship. During the Middle Ages, most of Europe, apart from Muslim Spain, was also known as Christendom. Christendom. Every part of daily life was affected by religious beliefs. The center of religious life in a castle was the chapel, where people went to pray and hear readings from the Bible. Abbeys and monasteries. Wow, look at this castle. Warrior monks, religious wars, the chapel. Castles in Europe. The Middle Ages were a time of brutal warfare, which meant that thousands of castles were built across the kingdoms of Europe. Castles were crucial during battles to be king, wars over the land and religion, and peasants' revolts. Oh, look at these different types of castles in different places. This was in Germany. This one is in France. This one, Spain. This is like different places all over the world, just like we were learning about the world. Moorish castles. Another different types. See these different types of architecture? Crusader castles. Lands and knights. End of an age. Japanese castles. Castles first developed in Japan during the Middle Ages. From 1400s to 1600s, powerful lords called the daimyo replaced simple forts made of timber and mud with grand, towering castles. These played an important part in Japan's history as rival clans battled for power. Samurai warriors. Interesting. Samurai armor, called yorai, was made up of iron scales and plates coated in shiny lacquer and tied together with cords of silk. Swords. Samurai carried two sharp swords, a longer one called a katana and a shorter one called a wakizashi. Fancy castles. In the 1400s, kings, queens, and nobles liked to imagine they were living in magical castles with turrets and spires. Their minstrel and poet told stories about legendary castles. In the 1800s, some people actually built romantic fairy tale castles. Myths and legends. Oh, just like Robin Hood and King Arthur. The legend of Dracula. Facts and figures. Castles impressed and intimidated the world for hundreds of years. Even though many of them are now in ruins, we still find them amazing. Read on to learn facts and figures about castles. 10,000 castles are recorded to have been built in Spain over the ages. About 2,500 of them still survive. Goodness. Plate of armor suits were given as top prizes in tournaments. German armor was considered the finest and stamped with the armorer's trademark. The path to knighthood, 300 pound to 12 years. Ooh, the glossary. Here are the meanings of some words that are useful for you to know when learning all about medieval castles. Armory, bailey, battlement, bishido, butler, carpenter, chapman, I can't pronounce it, chaldeman, crossbow, chivalry, coif, concentric, crusade, diamo, desatir, drawbridge, dungeon, feudalism, Fletcher, garrison, halberd, heraldry, invasion, jester, jousting, keep, knight, longbow, lute, mace, mail, mott, moat, mummer, murder hole, nef, obulate, palfrey, palisade, pantler, parapet, paraphrase, polyax, portcullis, pottage, samurai, scabbard, chef, or serf, sumpter, surcoat, tapestry, trebuchet, treacher. And the index. This will tell you what page. For example, if you're looking for children, it will say page 26. Or if you're looking for food, it will say page 38 through 39 and also page 58. Okay, and then acknowledgements. And then a timeline. Timeline of the Castle Age. Pretty cool. The end, my friends.